Bedtime Stories for My Sister Juniper. Rikki, Tikki, Tavi, Part 2 by Rudyard Kipling. If you read the old books of natural history, you will find they say that when a mongoose fights the snake and happens to get bitten, he runs off and eats some herb that cures him. That is not true. The victory is only a matter of quickness of eye and quickness of foot. Snakes blow against mongooses jump, and as no eye can follow the motion of a snake's head when it strikes, that makes things much more wonderful than any magic herb. Rikki Tikki knew he was a young mongoose, and it made him all the more pleased to think that he had managed to escape a blow from behind. It gave him confidence in himself, and when Teddy came running down the path, Rikki Tikki was ready to be petted. But just as Teddy was stooping, something flinched a little in the dust, and a tiny voice said, "Be careful, I am Death." It was Karate, the dusty brown snakeling that lies for choice on the dusty earth, and his bite is as dangerous as the cobra's. But he is so small that nobody thinks of him, and so he does the more harm to people. Rikki Tikki's eyes grew red again, and he danced up to Karate with the peculiar rocking, swaying motion he had inherited from his family. It looks very funny, but it is so perfectly balanced a gait that you can fly off from it in any angle you please, and in dealing with snakes this is an advantage. If Rikki Tikki had only known, he was doing a much more dangerous thing than fighting Nag, for Karate is so small and can turn so quickly that unless Rikki bit him close to the back of the head, he would get the return stroke in his eye or lip. But Rikki did not know. His eyes were all red, and he rocked back and forth looking for a good place to hold. Karate struck out. Rikki jumped sideways and tried to run in, but the wicked little dusty gray head lashed within a fraction of his shoulder, and he had to jump over the body, and the head followed his heels close. Teddy shouted to the house, "Oh, look here! Our mongoose is killing a snake!" And Rikki Tikki heard a scream from Teddy's mother. His father ran out with a stick, but by the time he came up, Karate had lunged out once too far, and Rikki Tikki had sprung, jumped on the snake's back, dropped his head far between his forelegs, bitten as high up on the back as he could get hold, and rolled away. That bite paralyzed Karate, and Rikki Tikki was just going to eat him up from the tail, after the custom of his family at dinner, when he remembered that a full meal makes a slow mongoose, and if he wanted all his strength and quickness ready, he must keep himself thin. He went away for a dust bath under the castor oil bushes while Teddy's father beat the dead Karate. "What is the use of that?" thought Rikki Tikki. "I have settled it all." And then Teddy's mother picked him up from the dust and hugged him, crying that he had saved Teddy from death, and Teddy's father said that he was a providence, and Teddy looked on with big, scared eyes. Rikki Tikki was rather amused at all the fuss, which, of course, he did not understand. Teddy's mother might just as well have petted Teddy for playing in the dust. Rikki was thoroughly enjoying himself. That night at dinner, walking to and fro among the wine glasses at the table, he could have stuffed himself 3 times over with nice things, but he remembered Nag and Nagina, and although it was very pleasant to be petted and patted by Teddy's mother, and to sit on Teddy's shoulder, his eyes would get red from time to time, and he would go off into his long war cry of "Rick tick ticky ticky tick chick." Teddy carried him off to bed, and insisted on Rikki Tikki sleeping under his chin. Rikki Tikki was too well bred to bite or scratch, but as soon as Teddy was asleep, he went off for his nightly walk round the house, and in the dark he ran up against Chuchundra, the muskrat, creeping round by the wall. Chuchundra is a broken-hearted little beast. He whimpers and cheeps all the night, trying to make up his mind to run into the middle of the room, but he never gets there. "Don't kill me," said Chuchundra, almost weeping. "Rikki Tikki, don't kill me." "Do you think a snake killer kills muskrats?" said Rikki Tikki scornfully. "Those who kill snakes get killed by snakes," said Chuchundra, more sorrowfully than ever. "And how am I to be sure that Nag won't mistake me for you some dark night?" "There's not the least danger," said Rikki Tikki, "but Nag is in the garden, and I know you don't go there." "My cousin Chua, the rat, told me," said Chuchundra, and then he stopped. Told you what? Hush! Nag is everywhere, Rikki Tikki. You should have talked to Chua in the garden. I didn't. You must tell me. Quick, Chuchundra, or I'll bite you. Chuchundra sat down and cried till the tears rolled off his whiskers. I am a very poor man, he sobbed. I never had spirit enough to run out into the middle of the room. Hush, I mustn't tell you anything. Can't you hear, Rikki Tikki? Rikki Tikki listened. The house was still as still, but he thought he could just catch the faintest scratch-scratch in the world, a noise as faint as that of a wasp walking on a window pane, the dry scratch of a snake's scales on brickwork. That's Nagger Nagina, he said to himself, and he's crawling into the bathroom sluice. You're right, Chuchundra, I should have talked to Chua. He stole off to Teddy's bathroom, but there was nothing there, and then to Teddy's mother's bathroom. At the bottom of the smooth plaster wall there was a brick pulled out to make a sluice for the bathwater, and as Rikki Tikki stole in by the masonry curb where the bath is put, he heard Nag and Nagina whispering together outside in the moonlight. When the house is emptied of people, said Nagina to her husband, he will have to go away, and then the garden will be our own again. Go in quietly, and remember that the big man who killed Karate is the first one to bite. Then come out and tell me, and we will hunt for Rikki Tikki together. But are you sure that there is anything to be gained by killing the people? Said Nag. Everything. When there were no people in the bungalow, did we have any mongoose in the garden? So long as the bungalow is empty, we are king and queen of the garden. And remember that as soon as our eggs in the melon bed hatch, as they may tomorrow, our children will need room and quiet. I had not thought of that, said Nag. I will go, but there is no need we should hunt for Rikki Tikki afterward. I will kill the big man and his wife, and the child if I can, and come away quietly. Then the bungalow will be empty and Rikki Tikki will go. Rikki Tikki tingled all over with rage and hatred at this, and then Nag's head came up through the sluice, and his 5 feet of cold body followed it. Angry as he was, Rikki Tikki was very frightened as he saw the size of the big cobra. Nag coiled himself up, raised his head, and looked into the bathroom in the dark, and Rikki could see his eyes glitter. Now, if I kill him here, Nagina will know, and if I fight him on the open floor, the odds are in his favor. What am I to do? Said Rikki Tikki Tavi. Nag waved to and fro, and then Rikki Tikki heard him drinking from the biggest water jar that was used to fill the bath. That is good, said the snake. Now, when Karate was killed, the big man had a stick. He may have that stick still, but when he comes in to bathe in the morning, he will not have a stick. I shall wait here till he comes. Nagina, do you hear me? I shall wait here in the cool till daytime. There was no answer from outside, so Rikki Tikki knew Nagina had gone away. Nag coiled himself down, coil by coil, round the bulge of the bottom of the water jar, and Rikki Tikki stayed still as death. After an hour, he began to move, muscle by muscle, toward the jar. Nag was asleep, and Rikki Tikki looked at his big back, wondering which would be the best place for a good hold. If I don't break his back at the first jump, said Rikki, he can still fight. And if he fights, oh, Rikki. He looked at the thickness of the neck below the hood, but that was too much for him, and a bite near the tail would only make Nag savage. It must be the head, he said at last, the head above the hood, and once I am there, I must not let go. Then he jumped. The head was lying a little clear of the water jar, under the curve of it, and as his teeth met, Rikki braced his back against the bulge of the red earthenware to hold down the head. This gave him just 1 second's purchase, and he made the most of it. Then he was battered to and fro as a rat is shaken by a dog. To and fro, on the floor, up and down and round in great circles. And his eyes were red, and he held on as the body cart-whipped over the floor, upsetting the tin dipper and the soap dish and the flesh brush, and banged against the tin side of the bath. As he held, he closed his eyes tighter and his jaws tighter, for he made sure he would be banged to death, and for the honor of his family preferred to be found with his teeth locked. He was dizzy, aching, and felt shaking to pieces when something went off like a thunderclap just behind him. A hot wind knocked him senseless, and a red fire singed his fur. The man had been wakened by the noise and had fired both barrels of a shotgun into Nag just behind the hood. Rikki Tikki held on with his eyes shut, for now he was quite sure he was dead. But the head did not move, and the big man picked him up and said, "It's the mongoose again, Alice. The little chap has saved our lives now." Then Daddy's mother came in with a very white face and saw what was left of Nag, and Rikki Tikki dragged himself into Teddy's bedroom and spent half the night shaking himself tenderly to find out whether he was really broken into 40 pieces, as he fancied.